Hello, Bhailok. What's happening? Welcome to the Big Match Theory. I hope all of you guys are doing well on this Monday night. We had yet another good Premier League weekend. What I'll do before starting, though, just give me a moment. What I'll do is before starting is I'll just go through all the Premier League results first. And after that, we'll talk about a couple of games. We have to talk about the North London Derby. It was an amazing game. We have to talk about Liverpool and Forest. It was another good game. So we'll do that. Let me share my screen. And I hope you are able to see this. So on the Saturday, November 22nd, you had the game week started with the game between Burnley and Chelsea, with Chelsea won 2-0. Enzo Fernandez was the scorer, Enzo and Pedro Neto. Then it was another good game between Bournemouth and West Ham. The game ended 2-all. Bournemouth were 2-0 down actually in this game, and they came back in the second half. Brighton with yet another win. You also had our own boy Danny Welbeck scored yet again. He continued with his very good scoring streak. You had Fulham won, Sunderland nil. Then the game at Anfield that Liverpool lost 3-0 against Nottingham Forest. Of course, we'll talk about it. Another game was Crystal Palace against Wolverhampton Wanderers, which Palace won 2-0. And you have to hand it to Palace. They are doing such an absolutely brilliant job. That they had not exactly wobble, but they lost a couple of games, but they have recovered so well. So they won the league. They won the game. Sorry, not league. They won the game 2-0. And then there was another brilliant game between Newcastle and Man City. The game ended 2-1. It was the Harvey Barnes scored first, then Ruben Diaz scored in the 68th minute or something, and within a couple of minutes, Barnes scored again. So it was yet another brilliant game of football. Yesterday, there was Leeds. Leeds won, Aston Villa 2. And what bugs me is the only game in the last 7, 8 games that Aston Villa lost was against Liverpool. So they were on four game winning run before Liverpool game, but then they lost that game stupidly. And after that, they have won 3 more games now. So yeah, hi Kushagra. Hi Kushagra, what's happening? I'm good. Yes, I'm alone today. Both Abhishek and Rohit are busy with their work, so they are in a completely different time zone. So yeah, it's going to be me alone today. And the final game yesterday was the North London Derby, and the final game ended in Arsenal 4 and Tottenham 1. And I mean, this is the final game. This has to be the performance that might have not exactly cemented, but it's as clear as daylight that Arsenal are going to win the league. If they continue with this form, I have no doubt in my mind that they are going to win the league. They have the best squad. They have the squad that they have the best depth. They have replacement for each and every position. So I have no doubt in my mind. Okay, what I'll do, I'll stop sharing. Yeah. So I have no doubt in my mind that they are going to win the league. And I don't think many people would doubt that. But yeah, the final score was 4-1. If you want to talk about the setup, how the both teams were set up, they were not really there was barely a surprise. Arsenal started with 4-2-3-1. They did not have Gabriel. And Okay, so they did not have Gabriel. The Gabriel is injured right now. Gabriel is injured right now, but they had 4-2-3-1 with Zubimendi and Rice in the midfield. They had Mikel Marino played as a false nine. He had another good game. Of course we'll talk about that. So there are no surprises with Arsenal formation. Spurs went with 3-4-3, and we have to say that Spurs were ridiculously defensive. And there is nothing wrong about being defensive, especially when you're playing against a team like Arsenal in such an important North London derby, uh, especially when Arsenal are playing so well. So there is nothing wrong in being so defensive. But the issue was they did not defend that well. And of course, the score line proves that. But even before they scored, Arsenal scored their first goal, there were a lot of wobbles with Spurs team. There were lots of bobbles. So if you see their midfield, they had Bentancur and Palinia. They had two midfielders, but there was no cohesion between Spurs team. And you can set up as much as you want. It's not like you can't set up defensively. We know the master of setting defensive teams, Jose Mourinho. They still talk about his Inter's absolutely brilliant performance against Barcelona in the Champions League semi-final. We still talk about it. So there is nothing wrong about setting your team defensively. That's absolutely fine. A lot of people do that. But the problem was they did not get the job done. They were ridiculously erratic. And one thing I always keep talking about is there was no cohesion between their defense. They were just people were running helter skelter. I mean, that did not make that did not make any sense. So the only player, except for Richarlison, who was pressing high, and with Richarlison, either Kudus or someone else. So two players were pressing, and except all the eight players, except for goalkeeper, they sat pretty deep. And as I said, it is absolutely fine unless until you get your job done. But that did not happen. It was overall poor performance, but to be very honest. And the story of Spurs this season is they have really been good away from home, and they have sucked at home. They have played in their own. They are playing really poorly in their own stadium, but away from home, they have been able to put some good shifts. So you have to give Thomas Frank some credit for that. But the way they lost yesterday, it was absolutely horrible. And I don't think there was anyone who expected Spurs to win yesterday. I don't think there was anyone who expected Arsenal to drop points. I don't think so. But the kind of performance that you put against your your most hated rivals, and that this is something that fans will not forget. They will definitely not forget. And this loss has left Frank and Tottenham Hotspur in a difficult place right now. But if you look at Frank's tenure at Brentford, or even Bromley for that matter, he has always been a slow starter. He did not start that well for Brentford. I think there were a lot of wobbles in his first 13 to 14 games, and something similar might happen this time. But compared to Bromley and Brentford, Spurs is a much bigger team. So yeah, it's going to be a huge job for Thomas Frank. And funnily enough, Thomas Frank was also linked with the United job, and linked with the United job in the sense, I'll just in 2023-24 when we won the FA Cup, when we won the FA Cup by beating City, and we all of us were certain that Ten Hag was going to lose his job. Ineos, they are just taken over the footballing side at Manchester United. What they decided to do is they decided to give Eric Ten Hag some more time. And the reason behind that was they were assessing their options. And Thomas Frank was one of their options. And the reason behind considering Thomas Frank as given by Dan Ashworth who left United last season was that Thomas Frank had an experience of the English Premier League. And at the time, what happened was, so basically, United conducted two interviews, as it was reported by Andy Mitten. They conducted interview with Thomas Tuchel, who was interested in the beginning, but later he decided against it. Apart from that, there was Roberto De Zerbi, but I think his wage requirement was very high, so United decided against it. So these two options, but Thomas Frank was one of the managers who was considered as a replacement for Ten Hag, and the man who decided to consider him was Dan Ashworth, who United signed last season from Newcastle, but within 6 months he was let go, and the reason behind of his resignation or behind his sack was that he wasn't in favor of signing Ruben Amorim. And what I would say is Dan Ashworth had some point. Because he wanted to make sure that before we get someone like Amorim, we have we had foundations in place. So this is something Frank was thinking. Frank was thinking on those lines. So he had some point. But yeah, let's not talk about United because it will be another Manchester United podcast. So I don't want to do that. But yeah, we need to talk about Arsenal. And I have nothing but respect for Arsenal. The way they have been performing, it's absolutely brilliant. And we are talking about a team that finished second for 3 seasons running. And in that sense, this team is similar to the team from 1990s or late 90s because they finished in 99, 2000, and 2001. United won the league. And in all 3 seasons, Arsenal finished second. And in 2001 too, they won the league quite convincingly. Even though Liverpool finished second in the league that season, they were barely in the league. They were barely in the title race. It was Arsenal's title to lose. And something like this might have happened at Arsenal. And that they have done a tremendous job. They're doing really well. And what I would say is this is the first time, not exactly first time, but this is one of those times when we saw Arsenal linking up really well. Before this game, I'm not saying Arsenal did not play well, but they were always robust. They were super robust. They were defensively solid, and a lot of people were complaining about it. I think the complaining or the criticism was valid that they were not scoring from open play. And if you look at any team that's good, that team scores from an open play. So the criticism they had, I think that's fair. The criticism is valid. At the time was valid. But yesterday, after say 20 minutes or 25 minutes, the Arsenal team was a completely different animal altogether. So yeah, of course, before going ahead, I'll just go through a couple of comments. I would say Ratcliffe letting Ten Hag staying longer was a blunder as they supported him by giving him money for flops, and they did not have the guts to sack him after a FA Cup win. I think this is the biggest problem. What they did was not only did they keep him, but they also gave him the signings for the next season, knowing that he was not going to make it. He was simply not going to be. He wasn't gonna. We could see him from his body language. He had lost the dressing room, and once any manager loses the dressing room, you are done. It doesn't matter who the manager is. You could be Alex Ferguson, you could be Arsene Wenger, but once you lose the dressing room, you are gone. And this is exactly what happened with Ten Hag. And yeah, I mean, you can give a benefit of doubt to Ineos because they took charge that season, so maybe we can say that they were inexperienced, and as I said, they were assessing their other options, and the other options they thought the other managers they talked to or they considered, they did not think they were right choice. So for that particular thing, even though I think it was a blunder, I mean I'm ready to give Ineos a benefit of the doubt. So yeah. Looking at Spurs, they sacked times, even though he got them first European glory. That is true. But again, that team could have been us. We could have won that game. But yeah, you are absolutely right. Even Ange was a goner even before the game, irrespective of the result. And Spurs were ruthless, and United weren't. I would say Arsenal raw defense is the key, which allows players like Rice as Saka to move freely. Yeah, that's a fair point, and they have been the best defensive team in the league for quite some time now, for 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 about 3 to 4 seasons. So yeah, that's that. Hey Anish, what's happening, man? Yeah, it's going to be me alone. Yeah, long time. I think we did 1, 2, 3 days back. But yeah, this is something we are looking forward to. We want to do it again and again, quite regularly. So this week, if possible, I'll try to do one live session. I'll try to do it every day. I was trying to do one watch along at night, but I don't think that is possible. But of course, I'll watch the game and if possible, I'll talk about it. I'll get Rohit in if possible tomorrow after United's game. But that's the only game that which is remaining from the game week. Joan Gomez of Wolves, what's your opinion? I'm not really sure of that. I have to plead ignorance. I have not seen him much. So he might be, I think, of course, we are linked with every player in the world, man. Every player in the league. So I have to plead ignorance. Yeah, I've not seen him much. I have no idea how he will be. But yeah, now that you have suggested it, I'll definitely try to watch him in the next couple of weeks. And well, I'll try to give you my assessment. So yeah, let's continue with by talking about Arsenal. And as I said, till this point, they have been good, they have been robust, but last night they were exciting. They were played like a team with all the freedom. I mean, they did not have they were all the breaks were off. They played freely, and their performance was quite good, especially after first 20 minutes. And of course, you had first goal was scored by Trossard, and you had hat trick by Eza, and of course we'll talk about Eza. And when the game started, especially after 10, 15 minutes, what I was thinking at the time was the two players that we have seen, we are yet to see the best of them. But from Arsenal, of course, are Trossard and Eza. And of course, Trossard had a couple of goals before last night as well. But Trossard, if you have someone like Odegaard starting the game, Trossard is not going to be your first choice. He is not going to be your first choice, even though he is a fantastic player to have. He is a he's a good he's a good squad player, and of course, he's more than a squad player. And as he's proving with his performances, last night he was absolutely brilliant. And I was thinking on those lines that two of the players who have not who are yet to show what they are capable of are Trossard and S. And both did fantastically well. And what I would say is when someone like Odegaard starts, he's very good with those defense splitting passes. His passing is best at the club. And I don't think there is anyone except Eza who is capable of doing that. So when Odegaard comes, he will be an automatic starter. But what Odegaard might not do or is not able to do, he's not someone who tracks the game like Salah has done for Liverpool. I don't think he's someone who does that. But again, every player has its pros and cons, and I mean, Odegaard. I'm a big fan of Odegaard, and I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's absolutely brilliant player. I would have him at United in a heartbeat. Not that that's going to happen, but yeah. Uh, so yeah. Okay, just give me a moment, guys. Just 30 seconds. Sorry for that, guys. Just give me a moment. And all right, I'll just go through a couple of comments. I can't see the chat because my eyes are tearing up with all the Arsenal wins. Please, someone stop it. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Harish. A little bit away from the topic, but don't you think McAllister is also a better team? Of course, we'll come to that. We'll talk about it, no doubt. But yeah, so let's start from Arsenal's first goal. What happened at the time was Mikel Merino, who did a fantastic job as a false nine. He kept dropping deep consistently. And even before they scored that goal, if you recall, there was one chance that Declan Rice had. There was one dink. Was it Marino or someone else? But it was a pass. Declan Rice took the shot, and it was a very good save by Vicario, who, in my opinion, had an absolutely fantastic game yesterday, despite conceding 4 goals. And if not for him, they could have scored. They could have conceded a couple of more. So yeah, so Mikel Marino, he kept dropping deep, and it was a fantastic move. It was a very smart run by Trossard, and yeah, I mean after that, the floodgates just opened. It was Arsenal games. All it was an Arsenal game out of the way. Okay, so as Anish has mentioned it was Eze who did it. Oh, all right, it was Eze. It was Eze. So yeah, and yeah, it Trossard made us smarter. And before talking about Eze, I just want to talk about what I thought when Arsenal were making all the signings. I thought two of the most important signings, not just for Arsenal but in the league, were one was Zubimendi and second was Eze. Now, the reason I think Zubimendi is a very good signing is because he's the kind of player who dictates the tempo of the game. And in the league like Premier League, and to be very honest, all the modern teams, all the modern great teams, they have someone who can dictate the tempo of the game. You look at any team. You look at Real Madrid's team that won 3 Champions League. They had Cruz and Modric. Modric is someone who could dictate the tempo of the game like no other. The great Barcelona team under Pep Guardiola, or even after that, they had Busquets and Xavi. United teams had players like Roy Keane and Paul Scholes, and I have affinity towards players who can do that because I think that's a unique quality not everyone has, not every midfielder has. And if you think about even Rafael Benitez's Liverpool team when they won the Champions League, of course everyone talks about Gerrard because Gerrard was that good in that Champions League, but they wouldn't they couldn't have done it without Xavi Alonso. He was there. He was slowing down the game when it was required. He was changing the pace of the game as per the requirement. And I think that kind of player is was necessary for Arsenal. Because I don't think Declan Rice is capable of doing that. I'm not saying Declan Rice is not good. Declan Rice is a very good player. But I don't think Declan Rice is capable of dictating the tempo of the game. So Zubi, the kind of player, that type of player, that profile, the carry profile, that's absolutely important. So Zubimendi, I thought was the most important signing, and second was, of course, Eberechiesa. And what's happening with Arsenal right now is the way they are playing, and with the way other teams are playing. It's not like Zubimendi is not playing well, but they've not needed him that much because there haven't been too many games when Arsenal had to slow the games down. The other teams had to do that, not us. So this is something I mean, of course, I'm not saying that Zubimendi, they will not need Zubimendi because season is long. It's just 12 weeks. It's a long season. They'll play in various competitions. They'll play in the Champions League. They'll play in the FA Cup. They're, of course, running away with the Premier League. So Zubimendi in the coming weeks, it's going to be very crucial, especially in that December to February time. That will happen for sure. But you can't simply not feel happy about Everton. And what an absolutely brilliant guy. And there is this tweet, that picture of his tweet that doing rounds on social media, that when he said that he was released from Arsenal 10 years, exactly 10 years back in 2015. And the way he has made his comeback, I mean, you cannot not feel happy for him. And of course, I'm sure all the Spurs fans, they are very, very angry and very disgusted with their team's performance. But at the same time, I'll be really surprised if there are any Spurs fans who are not happy for the way Eza has carried himself, or the Eza has come about this. And what I would say is, so there is this journalist called Miguel Delaney, and someone like, he can be a bit irritating at times, but at times he writes such long pieces with a lot of research, and he's very well connected with clubs. So between 2015 to 16, 17, I think he used to cover United, and he's well connected not just with club executives, even with the coaching teams. Okay, let me go through Alok's comment. Arsenal looking like they'll be the brides this time, not bridesmaids. Yeah, that's a fair point. That might happen. Yeah, I know, Anish, what you feel. Okay, so guys, I'm just taking a pause because there's just too much noise outside my house, and at times I'm not simply not able to hear myself. That's the reason I'm taking small pauses in between. I hope you're not getting that disturbance. But yeah, that's about it. So yeah, so I was talking about Miguel Delaney. That Miguel Delaney is a journalist who is well connected with the clubs. He's well connected with not only executives but with the coaching staffs of your clubs. And what he said that Mikel Arteta and his coaching team, they have been working with Eza to play in that left-sided role for quite some time. At times, what us fans we fail to realize is, sorry, I'm so sorry. And even though we feel that when the player moves from say number 10 to the left hand side, it's an easy transition. It is not, especially right now. When in every system, under every manager, the requirement of a player is different. So what Miguel Delaney reported is, and that's a beautiful piece. If you haven't read it, please, I suggest you read it. It's absolutely a brilliant piece. And what he said that Miguel Arteta and his coaching staff, they have been working with Eza for quite some time to make that switch from the middle to the left hand side. And he has been doing really good, at least in the training pitch. So it takes time for any player when he's performing well on the training pitch to translate that in a good performance in the actual game. It takes some time. See, I'm always wary of judging a starting 11, because any manager, he picks the starting 11 based on what he sees on the training pitch. And we, or any even other journalists, we don't have access to that, and we'll never get access to that. So I'm always wary of reluctant about criticizing manager based on the starting lineups. So, but what he suggested that, so their entire coaching staff, they're really happy with how it has come about. Because there are some players who take some time to grasp it, but Eza has grasped it really, really quickly. So they are really happy about it. And last night, he played as number 10. And when the Odegaard comes in, it's going to be Eza on the left. You will have, more often than not, we'll have a midfield three of Odegaard, Zubimendi, and Rice, and Saka on the right and Gyökeres up front. Okay, let me go through a couple of comments first. One fact: more than seven Arsenal players have goatee. I swear I counted them yesterday. Oh my god! Oh my god! I mean, I am not a fan of goatee, and I absolutely adore. So, on a completely different topic, I absolutely adore Sachin Tendulkar. I mean, I love him more than anyone else in the world. But I just simply did not like when he had a goatee. I just hate it. I don't like it. Hardik is saying Rice and Zubimendi are doing great in Arsenal. To be honest, they need a great CDM who can control the games like Busquets. I think Zubimendi is that player, Hardik. Zubimendi did that last season. He did that with Spain, especially in the Nations Cup, Nations League. He used to do that for Real Sociedad. So Zubimendi is that player. He is capable of doing that. Abhishek is saying right now Arsenal looking like a team without any mistakes. This team took time to build, but this has been a perfect team for them. Absolutely. And last night's performance was perfect. Okay, my friend Rohit, a fellow TBMT, what podcaster? Podcaster is a very is a, I don't know, I don't like that word, but yeah, my friend Rohit, who all of you guys know, apologies for being out with illness over the past week. Hope to be back in training soon. I think I'm not really sure if Rohit is faking injuries like a lot of players do, or he's genuinely ill. I have no way of knowing that. So yeah, but you guys be the guest. You guys be the judge. All of this, Alok is saying all of this just for Arsenal to lose to Chelsea next week. But I will tell you something, Alok. Uh, Even if they lose to Chelsea, there is a good chance that they will come back. I don't think they will lose to Chelsea. They might drop points, but I don't think they will lose because they are just too robust right now. They're just too robust. In other news, Wales is still side. Isak can't score if his life depended on it, and I'll be going underground soon because after running away with the league. Yeah, of course, we'll have a separate podcast. I think if you want, we'll have a separate podcast, and it will involve Rohit talking about Arsenal, and I'm sure he's going to get a lot of shit comments. He's going to get absolutely hammered for this. Out sick training with the national team. Where's the DiCaprio mind when you need it? This is a really good one. Good one. But yeah, I hope Rohit recovers soon, and I hope Rohit, if you're free tomorrow, when we thumb the mighty Everton, we'll talk about it, and we'll definitely talk about it tomorrow if you're free. And yeah, okay, let me continue with Arsenal. And I was talking about Ebirachi Eza. So yeah, he had a fantastic game, and I mean, it's very difficult not to feel happy for him. And in the Palace, for Crystal Palace, he used to play as that kind of a playmaker. Yesterday, he played as number 10. The similar role for Arsenal, he will play on the left hand side. But the difference between Palace and Arsenal is that with Palace, he used to play in a completely different formation, a controversial 3-4-3 that we have talked about millions of times. Of course, in a completely different context. But yeah, so that's that. And what a way to mark, what to, I mean, what a way to make his mark on with your team. That too on the North London derby. I mean, I was surprised to know this. I mean, this was the fourth hat trick, only fourth hat trick in the North London derby. So yeah, he has gone into the Arsenal record books forever. And whatever happens with his career from then on, and I'm sure he's going to be absolutely great. I'll be really surprised if he's not in next year, if he doesn't play in next year's World Cup under Thomas Tuchel. But yeah, Eberechi is doing absolutely brilliant. So yeah, got a way to make your mark in the North London derby, and that's that. Okay, let me go through a couple of comments. Why don't jinx it for fuck's sake? Okay, I will not. Let's not talk about United at all. I think Nirnay is saying the same. Okay, I'll not talk about United right now. I'm pretty sure we are going to lose 2-0 against David Moyes' mighty Everton. Rohit is having fun from the bench. Yeah, he is having currently right. He is having fun right now. Eza scored a hat trick before Saga. Abhishek, I'm not sure I'll use that to mock Saka because I think Saka is an absolutely fantastic player. But that one Arsenal player I simply cannot take. He is an absolutely brilliant player, and that's the thing with Arsenal, right? It's I'm sure. I hope some Arsenal fans are watching it. But it's more than a lot of their players. It's their fans, right? They just wind you up, right? Wind you up, right? So what's just imagine what's going to happen in the next May when they actually win the league. It's going to be absolutely unbearable. And Mangesh, if you jinx this, just know I'm taking sick leave tomorrow just to watch United. There are some absolute bangers. Play the football before football plays you, Rohit. This is a really good one. Yeah, even I like Saka as a player. It's just something that's it. Yeah, that makes sense. But that play the football before football plays you. That's a really genuinely funny comment. But yeah, and what I want to say is after the game, I was just watching after not on the game. I watched it on YouTube in the morning. I watched Henri talking about how Spurs set up their team, and when actually the only player who felt only player who made some difference in the sense was first was Richarlison. I think Richarlison had a really good game, and his goal was absolutely ridiculous. It was absolutely fantastic goal. Uh, Kind of reminded me of David Bentley's goal against Arsenal in that 4-all game from 2008-9. Of course, Bentley's was a volley. It was even better goal, but it was a similar goal in the sense it was a long distance. So it reminded me of that. But except for Richarlison and Javi Simmons, I thought Van der Ven started well, but after the goal was after they considered the goal, it was all over. And what Henri said, especially about Javi Simmons, is he was talking about first he said that Javi Simmons used to play in Germany, and what Henri said that when players from Germany they come to England, of course they are very good players, but when they come to England, when they play in Germany, when they are good and when they are running, there is nobody who runs with them. In England, you have players, opposition players, who are running with them. That makes that transition from Germany to England a ridiculously difficult. And that's a very good point because that got me thinking. United signed in the last decade, not last decade. So even during Fergie was around, in 2012-13, we signed the best player in Germany, in Shinji Kagawa, who was astonishing for Jurgen Klopp's Dortmund team. And I think he was their Bundesliga's best player at the time. And they won two leagues on the bounce. In Kagawa at United, I'm not going to say he flopped because he had a decent 2012-13 season. He scored a hat trick against Norwich. And at the time, it felt as if because Wayne Rooney was having a lot of arguments and run-ins with Alex Ferguson. So at the time, all of us felt that it is going to be Van Persie and behind him Kagawa. So Kagawa playing behind Van Persie. That's going to be the future for United. But then Fergie left and Wayne Rooney did not, and the entire equation changed. But Kagawa was okay-ish for United. He did not set the league alight. Same thing happened with when we signed Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan, before joining United, was, of course, again, we signed him from Dortmund, but he was Bundesliga's best player, Bundesliga's best player in 2015-16. Then he joined United, and you can make an argument that he had a manager in Mourinho who is not that patient with players. He's definitely not as patient as Ferguson. But Mkhitaryan, I don't think he was bad. But again, he did not shed the league alight. And he was at United for 1.5 seasons. Then he was sold to Arsenal, and in exchange we got Alexis Sanchez, and I don't even want to talk about him right now. But even Henrik Mkhitaryan was okay at United. He was average. I don't think he was flop, but he wasn't great. And and Henri made that really good point. And this is something about Henri, right? Henri is one of those players who is very unbiased when he is doing his punditry. punditry. And of course, he was an absolutely brilliant player, one of the greatest in the Premier League, and he was a great player. He is a really really good analyst, and as opposed to that, you have two absolute. I don't want to say I don't want to call them clowns because one of them players I actually love. You have two other people in Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. Out of his Gary Neville, he what he does is he talks. I mean, he tries too hard to please the opposition fans, and at times he talks absolute garbage. And you have Jamie Carragher, who is an absolutely fantastic pundit, by the way, and he's someone who understands tactics. If you listen to him talk about, say, tactics of any old coaches, you have the Italian teams, Saki's Milan, he's absolutely brilliant. But when it comes to Liverpool, he's just too biased. But as opposed to them, you have someone like Henry, who's a breath of fresh air, who is very good with his punditry. He's not biased at all. And yeah, I mean, this is something I wanted to say. And another thing that Henry said was that when you have teams who are playing in in the low block, when you have an attacker who can run with the ball, who can take on two, three players, you should let him do it. And of course, the criticism was directed at Thomas Frank and Javi Simmons. When he came, he was lively. He tried to take on two, three players, but after maybe he was not allowed to do that because a lot of these managers are very structural. Their approach is structural. They don't let you go go off with the ball, and I mean that could be one of the reasons Javi Simmons did not do that. And I think this is a only talking about players from Germany struggling in England. This is a good segue to talk about a team that has the Bundesliga's best performance from the last season. And of course, the team I'm talking about is Liverpool, and the player I'm talking about is Florian Wirtz. But before I go there, let me go through a few comments. Ode and Kai were the heart of the attack. Both have been missing for majority of the season. They are way more important to the team than people realize. I think Odegaard. I'm a huge fan of Odegaard. I think Odegaard is extremely important for us. I think he's one of the best players in the league. And as I said, I'm a huge fan. I've praised him more than occasions. As I can't fill into Ode's shoes, a different profile. Fair enough. Fair enough. But I thought what I said some time back was Odegaard is not someone who drags the team. Ezra did that yesterday. So again, a different profile, different roles. But yeah, both fantastic players. Richarlison starts yesterday. Shots on target 1 of 1. Shots on essay 1 out of 1. uh, Liverpool fans should, Alok is saying, Liverpool fans should start growing out their hair till they win 2 games in a row. They'll beat the United Shanghai. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Isn't Szoboszlai one of the best players at pool this season, and he was an instant success from Bundesliga? Yeah, this is very true. I'm not denying that, but I think on what Henri was mentioning at the time was he was talking about all the attacking players, the playmakers. You're talking about the players of like Kagawa, Mkhitaryan, and Florian Wirtz. So maybe Henri meant that, and the same can be true about the players United signed from Germany. Eza brings explosiveness and flair, which Ode does not. Need more people to take chances. Arsenal spent too much time looking for perfect opportunity. Yeah, this is an interesting point. That's an interesting point. Yeah, but going back to Liverpool, and as I said, this is a great segue to talk about the Liverpool. And yeah, I watched the game, and Liverpool lost 3-0. It was really funny. I had an absolute blast while watching the game, and for the last 30 minutes, I was just laughing my ass off. It was really, really funny. Liverpool were really struggling, really struggling. And what I expected, and before we talk about Liverpool, we have to give credit to Nottingham Forest. And they did an absolutely amazing job. And what I expected Forest to do yesterday, or in general this season, was, of course, it's a Sean Dyche team, the team that is uh, defensive. The defensive setup is going to be impeccable. The defensive setup is always going to be good. But what Nottingham Forest did the day on Saturday was they were really good on counter attacks. They were really good on counter attacks. They were not afraid to take their chances. At no point I felt that they are going to concede. So you had to give huge credit to the manager, the players. I think Marilo had a fantastic game. Morgan Gibbs White, he was working his ass off. He was just fantastic. He was a very good player. So you have to give Forest credit for that. And I was fully expecting Van Dijk's meltdown after the game, like he had, especially after the Real Madrid game. But that did not happen. Did not happen. And of course, I will never miss an opportunity to laugh at Liverpool and Van Dijk. But what I'm trying to say is, we have to talk about what happened after that Real Madrid game. After the Real Madrid game, Liverpool won that game 1-0. The score, and they were much better team. And the only reason they did not score two more was score 12. What happened in that game was Wayne Rooney had criticized. Not it wasn't a nasty criticism. It was a constructive criticism about Liverpool's lack of leadership, and that is coming from a player who knows what he is talking about. Wayne Rooney is one of the greatest players the Premier League has ever seen. He's one of England's greatest players. He is one of United's greatest players. He's someone who has won five Premier Leagues, one Champions League, a few cups. So we are talking about someone who knows what he is talking about. What happened in that game? The game was on Amazon Prime, and what Theo Walcott said afterwards, and that Theo Walcott interview is available on Instagram and YouTube, and if you want, do check it out. So I'm not trying to make stuff up. So what Walcott said about that game was that the panel, they wanted to talk to Connor Bradley because Connor Bradley had a game of his life. He marked Vinicius, and this was such a great moment for him to be. I'm not sure if he was man of the match, but he was one of the best players on the pitch. To do that for your team against Real Madrid while marking one of the best players in the world. I mean that was quite something, and this is why the panel wanted to interview Conor Bradley. What Van Dijk did at the time is that he decided that, and this is as I said, I'm not making this up. Theo Walcott said this. What Van Dijk did at the time was he said that no, I'm going to do this interview because he had a score to settle with Wayne Rooney. And, and in a way, he proved Wayne Rooney right. I mean, you are the captain of Liverpool, which is one of the best, of course, irrespective of what happened this season. You are captain of English champions. You are captain of one of the best teams in Europe. And instead of letting a kid who has had a time of his life, instead of letting him have this the limelight, you're going on just because because of your fragile ego. And I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. So in a way, Van Dijk proved Rooney right. And you can talk, of course we can talk about Konate. Konate is not doing well. We know that. But at the same time, even Van Dijk is not doing well. Salah is not doing well. A lot of top Liverpool players who were fantastic last season, they're not doing well. The only player who feels he's doing something is Szoboszlai. Apart from that, a lot of people are struggling. Okay, let me just go through a couple of comments. Which just does not get that kind of space, but physicality goes against them. Still think this slump is more on slot than pace. Yeah, I'll come to that. I agree with you. You can't just dump attacking players and pray. You don't want to start Chiesa, nor do you want to play and and Guma and the academy players, Sabazla stuck at right back, playing too well, but not the right position. Yeah, fair enough. But but see, you can criticize Slot as much as you want. But I want to touch upon a slightly different topic. See, you have people like Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, and I think Michael Edwards is CEO at Liverpool right now, and you have lot of these players who are working in the background. And Michael Edwards gets a lot of credit for the data revolution he brought at Liverpool. Now, the same guy signs players worth 450 million or something like that, and they are not working out. Now, when the players work out, all the plaudits go to Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. But when the things are not going their way, are we going to say that it is just Arne Slot's fault? See, tactical setup is a different thing. The in-game management is a different thing. But I'm talking about decision making. I'm talking about players these guys are Arne Slot is playing with. So when everyone is calling Arne Slot's head, I'm not really sure who is not calling out Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. Why are they not doing that? I mean, if you want praise, if you want plaudits when things go right, you also have to take criticism when things go wrong, right? And I don't see many Liverpool fans doing that. See, by that, I'm not saying that Slot is doing everything right. Of course, I mean, as I think Rusty rightly said, that you can't just dump all the attacking players and expect them to score goals. That's not going to happen. But I thought this is a really important point. I don't see many people talking about it. And why I'm saying this is, but for those who do not know, the data revolution that at Liverpool, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of you must have watched Moneyball, the Billy Bean revolution at what was it? What was the name of the uh, Athletic? What? Oakland Athletics. Yeah, Oakland Athletics back in 2002. So he brought that revolution, the Moneyball approach, which was based on data. And John Henry at the time was an he was of course he's the owner of Boston Red Sox. John Henry saw that, and he decided to deploy that at Boston Red Sox. And Boston Red Sox won. It's not like I watched baseball, but I've watched that movie and I just read a few articles about it. It's not like I don't understand baseball at all. For those, just in case you're thinking about it. But John Emery brought that approach to first Boston Red Sox, and they won the World Series. And then he brought that approach to Liverpool. And some of the signings, like Robert Firmino, they were signings based on the data analysis. So this is we are talking about something which is a core of your club. And but when you have 400 signings which are worth 450 millions, you can't just blame Slot for everything. It's a collective failure of Slot, of Martin Edwards, and not Martin Edwards, sorry, Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. So it's a collective failure. And what I think about this is there is a possibility. See, keep mentioning this all the time. Last season, it was Jurgen Klopp's team. What Arne Slot did to that team was that he gave an element of control. He added an element of control. What I mean by that is Slot's team. Of course, they evolved over time, but they were aggressive. They were very aggressive with their pressing. What Arne Slot did was, it's not like his team did not press, but he kept the ball, he kept the position, and he decided to control more games. So he just added an element of control, and I think that is very, very important, because what happens is, and this is something I picked up, I watched a couple of days back, and Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson was talking to Mick McCarthy. Roy Hodgson, for those who do not know, was Liverpool's manager for 2009-10 season, and it went horribly bad. Sorry, he started in 10-11, and that season went horribly wrong for him. And why he was leaving when he was sacked? So Gerrard and Jamie Carragher, they went to meet him, and they, of course, they wished him well and all the best and all that kind of stuff. But Carragher made a very good point at the time was that what he said to Slot at the time, sorry, to Hodgson at the time, that the mistake you made was trying to coach us. And that's a very good point in the sense because the manager they earlier had was Rafael Benitez, who was not into man management at all. He was more of a shrewd coach, and his man management skills were poor. And a lot of Liverpool players, at least a few Liverpool players, did not like him because he wasn't warm with his approach. It was a really dry approach based on just football tactics and nothing else. So what Carragher made a point that, and this happens with a lot of teams. This happened with Ajax team, a great Ajax team in the 1970s. When you have a manager who has this sort of a regimen, and by regiment, I'm not saying this in a, I mean, it does not have any negative connotations right now. But when you have someone like Klopp, who under whom you have team that presses like crazy, and all of a sudden, all that pressure goes, and the team has a rebound. The team plays more freely, and this is exactly what Slot did last time. He did not try to overcomplicate things. He just let Liverpool players do. It's not like they do whatever they want, but he just added an element of control in an otherwise very good Liverpool team, and he did that. And we know what happened. They won the league. And this time, maybe, just maybe, the likes of Michael Edwards and Slot, they just want to try to want to stamp their authority, and they want to make this team their own, and they are trying to do that. At the moment, they are failing miserably. I mean, this is my assessment. See, a lot of we can talk about tactics. We can talk about a lot of things. We can talk about. I think Rusty made a good point no, about Saboslai that yeah, he's playing as right back, and of course the reason he's playing as right back maybe one of the reasons is Slot wants him to tuck into the midfield and provide more more bodies in the midfield. But the problem with Liverpool right now is that defense is struggling so much. And despite Saborlai being their best player, he just has to play the right back role. I think this is their problem right now. And what what will happen? I think. I mean, this is really interesting. I don't think Arne Slot will lose his job right away. But when AFCON comes, when Salah goes to AFCON for Egypt, now Arne Slot in that case, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what is going to happen because Mohamed Salah is one of the probably the biggest name at Liverpool right now. There is a possibility that he can craft his team around Florian Wirtz. There is a possibility that Florian Wirtz by that time will be much acquainted with the league. He will be uh, he know. I mean, of course, he's a smart player. He has played well in the Champions League. He has played. I think he had 2 assists for Germany in the midweek during internationals. So there is a possibility that Arne Slot might try to reconfigure his team, the front three of say Wirtz, Ekitike, Isak. Maybe that will happen, and let's see if something comes out of that. Maybe he's thinking that. We don't know for sure, but this is something like this might happen. Yeah. Okay. Yes, but the way things are going, he has to actually play more as a right back and defend. All right. Even with Frimpong, though, the service to Salah wasn't good. Small sample size, though. Yeah. See, what I said before the season began that Liverpool changed too much. They made too many changes at a time. under a manager who was in England just for one season. See, building any squad is a ridiculously difficult thing to do. Not many managers could do that. Mourinho could not do that. Antonio Conte could not do that. I mean, we are talking about two managers who won the Premier League. Both of them could not do that. And Slot was at, uh, I mean, he has not done it even at Netherlands. He did not do that. So, I mean, it's going to be a huge challenge for Slot. And compared to the Dutch League, Premier League's, I mean, the quality in the Premier League, the pressure in the Premier League, the energy and the pressing and everything in the Premier League is just way too high. So I think that could be one of the reasons that Slot is finding it very difficult to do that. Right, there is a possibility of that happening, and maybe there is a possibility that if Salah goes to AFCON, when he goes to AFCON, if their front three clicks, what happens when Salah comes back? That's going to be another challenge, and this is going to be a huge if. Considering the player I'm talking about, he's yet to click. But if that happens, how to integrate Salah? Will Salah be okay not starting each and every game? Because see, that's the thing with great players, right? They want to start each and every game irrespective of their performance. And that's the kind of selfishness that is, I mean, the kind of selfishness that makes them great. So this is going to be an interesting challenge for Arne Slot. We are not even considering the possibility of an injury to one of the centre backs. That would be the final nail in the coffin. I completely agree. And that's the reason I think. I mean, me, Rohit, and Abhishek, we did a podcast before the season started. And this is the point. Both me and Abhishek said that I'm not sure why Liverpool are not signing centre backs. They tried signing A and that did not happen. But I'm not sure. I think they fucked it up big time when they did not sign a centre back. I'm sure. I mean, this is the kind of shit you expect from Manchester United, not from Liverpool. At least in the last decade, they have been one of the best run clubs in the league. But yeah, I mean, let's see what happens. You can't have a 400K a week player, best player of the last season on the bench, not happening. See, what happens is, this is the thing with even with Ronaldo, right? I'm not saying Salah is dragging Liverpool back. I'm not saying that at all. But even some great players, we have to consider Salah's age. There is a possibility that he might come back from AFCON and he will pick it up where he left off last season. From where he left off last season, that can happen. But again, Salah is not a young player. He's in his 30s. It takes a lot. I mean, playing week in, week out, and the amount of games that the players are playing right now, it takes the amount of football these guys are playing, that's ridiculous. You never know what's going to happen. Maybe Jan signings can ready, but it can work other way as well, right? If you sign someone in January and if that player is not fit in it doesn't fit in the team, if he doesn't settle, what then? What happens then? But I'll be surprised if Liverpool don't sign a centre back in the January. I'll be really surprised with that. And yeah, that's about Liverpool. So we can talk about all the tactics and the players and whatnot, their positions. More often than not, the issues any team faces, they are either structural or psychological. It's quite clear that there are structural issues at Liverpool, and when you have structural issues, that issues will pop up from more than one position. That always happens. When you have structural issues in any team, you don't have issues. See, I'll give you a simple example. When United signed Ronaldo in 2021-22, team was on the way up before signing him. But we signed him, team structure went for a toss, and we know what happened. Solskjaer lost his job. He completely lost his job. And what Ten Hag did was Ten Hag decided to bench Ronaldo. Because when you play Ronaldo, other players, they have to do his share of pressing, and the entire team's entire system, entire tactical system that goes for a toss. So United lost, I think, 6 games out of 8 or something. And at the time, nobody was playing well. And you can make an argument, right back was not playing well, a centre back was not playing well, a centre midfielder was not playing well. But when you have structural issues, that affects every facet of your team. And I think this is something which is happening with Liverpool right now. So yeah, and I also and I also read a stat that uh, Nottingham Forest, they ran 6 kilometers more than Liverpool. And I know I am not being original at all, but that reminded me of Forest Cup, of course, Nottingham Forest Cup. They ran 6 kilometers more than Liverpool. I know this is a very bad joke, but yeah, I'm very proud of myself right now. So yeah, that's that about Liverpool. Then you had City game, and what I would say about City's game is, I thought this was really strange. In the sense, I'll just go through. What I'll do is I'll share my screen. Uh, I mean, this is the team Pep Guardiola fielded against Newcastle. So you had Ryan Cherky, you had Bernardo Silva, you had Foden, you had Doku. So you had 4 attacking players. Out of which Silva can be slotted as a centre midfield. He can. I mean, Silva is a versatile player. He can play deep. He can play he can play as a centre midfield. So he's a versatile player, even though he's naturally an attacking player. And the only defensive player they had was Nico Gonzalez. And I found this really, really strange, considering you have a midfield of Joe Linton, Tonali, and Gimenez, who 3 players who are absolute tanks. I mean, they can outrun almost every midfield in the world. And Pep Guardiola of all managers, I have no idea what 4 attacking players were doing in the middle of the pitch. And you only had Nico Gonzalez, who is young, who struggled a bit last season, but now he's finding his form. And you have 3 players playing against Nico Gonzalez. I have no idea. I mean, how did we expect that it was going to turn out? It was always going to turn out one way. There was always going to be a single winner, and this is exactly what happened in last night's game against Nottingham Forest. And what happened? Sorry, not Forest. I'm sorry. I've been talking for 1 hour. I'm being stupid right now. This is exactly what happened between Newcastle and Man City. Because in the first half, there was a time when City had a lot of possession. They had, at one point, they had a 70% possession or 65% possession. But whenever City had the ball in their own half, Newcastle players were pressing them like crazy. They did a fantastic job of that. And Tonali and Gimenez, they were absolutely brilliant. And that completely unsettled Man City. Uh, and yeah, got outmuscled and were too wasteful in front of the goal. Should have won despite the physical mismatch. True, they were. I mean, yeah, they missed some really, really easy, especially that Foden shots. That was really easy. We did not expect Foden to miss it. Haaland did not fire fire last night, and when Haaland did not fire, City could not do anything. And this takes me to Phil Foden, right? Phil Foden, we are talking about a player, couple of in I think 2023-24, when he was so absolutely fantastic for Man City, and then he went to the Euros with England, and he could not make the same impact because a lot of these players, these players are system players. By that, I'm not trying to criticize them, but they have been brought up in a system, so they are completely used to playing in that system. And when they are playing in a different system without any coaching, or they are playing in a team that doesn't have too much system, like Southgate's England did not have a system as such, they struggle. And I mean, 2020-21 Phil Foden, he was just absolutely magnificent. And but he when he went to Euros, he struggled. And at Euros, the situation was you had 3 to 4 players playing in the same zone, same in the same space at a time. You had Harry Kane, you had Jude Bellingham, you had Phil Foden, you had someone else. Uh, Cole Palmer did not start each and every England game. He scored in the final though. But yeah, you had 3, 4 players playing in the same space, and England completely struggled. And yeah, this something similar is. And of course, to be very honest with you, City are playing well right now because of Erling Haaland, because he's scoring like a maniac. He did not have his best game yesterday, and City struggled. And Harvey Barnes, he took both of his chances, and fair play to him. So Newcastle, if we talk about the league table, Newcastle is still 14th. Newcastle is still 14 with 15 points. You have, of course, Arsenal first, Chelsea second with 23, Man City third with 22, Villa with 21, Palace with 25th. Then you have Tottenham, Spurs are ninth, 10th are Manchester United, 11th you have Liverpool, then you have Brentford, and Newcastle are 14 behind Everton. So yeah, maybe from this game, their season will pick up. You never know what happens. So yeah, that's about it. And of course, I'm waiting for my team to play in one of the 3 hours. The game is at 1:30. Manchester United will play Everton. And see, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not going to predict any scores or something. But one thing I'm pretty certain of, from the way things have been since the Sunderland game, that we will play well. We will from the Sunderland game, we have been cohesive. And I use this word all the time because I think unless until the team is cohesive, they are not going to get the result. United Expressing has been really cohesive. And this is the kind of game that United are capable of winning. But one thing I'm sure of, that we'll play well. Now, I'm so sorry. Just give me a moment. And yeah, I think we'll play well. I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be. We don't have Sheshko. We will. I don't know what the front three is going to be. It more often than not, I think it will be Mount, Cunha, and Mbomo. And both Cunha and Mbomo, they're especially Mbomo. Mbomo has been absolutely fantastic. So that's that. And there are a lot of talks about Joshua Zirkzee. What about his future? And I mean, I think Zirkzee is a very good player. I thought he's technically very good last season in the second half, especially if you recall the game against Arsenal, the FA Cup game. He was fantastic. I think Zirkzee is a fantastic player. I'm not sure about his future at United, though. In the sense, I don't know where he fits. Of course, I'm not saying we are going to sell him because during AFCON, we'll not have Ahmad and Mbu. So we'll need more bodies, we'll need more players. And Andy Mitten reported some time back, a few days back, that United are confident of bringing a couple of players in during January. And especially if Mbumo and Ahmad both are going, uh, we are going to need players. Especially we are going to need center midfielder. I've talked about it so many times. I've talked about it so much. But yeah, so you have Joshua Zirkzee. I There is a possibility that he might start getting games. There is a possibility that he will play small roles in upcoming weeks. There is a possibility of that because I don't know how he fits in the system because the way Amorim plays is you have three players, two players. Of course, it's 2-1. Joshua Zirkzee, from what I have seen, looks like someone who plays behind a striker. So if you have Zirkzee and two players ahead of him, there is a possibility that it might work. I'm not sure. See, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I hope it works out for Zirze on the right. I hope we win tonight. I hope we go ahead of Liverpool by 3 points. I think currently we are just level on points. Yeah, Liverpool have a goal difference for -2. We have just +1. So yeah, we have to score at any cost. And if we win, which is a big if, we will be fifth with same points as Villa, but will be fifth on a goal difference. If we lose, again, same, will be 10th. If we get a draw, we will be 19th, but we will be 8th, just behind Sunderland and ahead of Bournemouth. So, yeah, that's about that. All right. Let's see if I'm not sure if I'll be able to do watch along tonight, but I'll definitely try my best to connect tomorrow and talk, have another live session, mainly about United's performance. Or there is something else on my mind about about the fact that teams are playing so much and it's causing a lot of injuries. I want to talk about that. Let's see if I'm able to talk that. If I'm able to do that, I'll definitely talk tomorrow. But till then, thank you guys for watching, and we'll keep talking. We'll keep meeting. Please make sure that you like our streams. It will help us grow. It will be visible to more people. That will help us in getting more followers. And to be very honest with you, all our growth on mainly on Instagram, on YouTube, it's all organic. We have not used uh, uh, any 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 other avenue. We have not hired anyone from digital team. So please, it's all the growth that we have is an organic growth. So please help us grow, be a part of our journey, and let's talk more. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about vintage football. Let's talk about what happened in the 1998 World Cup or 2002 World Cup. And yeah, it's let's talk about the vintage times and let's talk about war times. Uh, till then, good night, and I'll see you soon. And please don't always if there is any feedback, please let me know. Again, it will help us grow, and I'll definitely incorporate your suggestions in the next stream. Till then, bye for now. Good night.